Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Packed show for you, absolutely packed. Now, former Tory MP Miriam Cates is in Croatia for the second European Congress on Family. And here she is now to talk to us live from Dubrovnik, which I'm sure the weather is much better there than it is here, to tell us what exactly is going on. Miriam. Hi, Miriam. Good to see you. Miriam, explain...
Well, hello. Good afternoon.
Explain exactly what is going on out there. What you're doing, basically.
Good afternoon. Well, yes, as you said, it is a beautiful city and it is sunny. Sorry to have to tell you that. But the European Congress of Families is a conference for politicians, organisations across Europe to come together to share ideas about how we tackle some of the challenges that families are facing. Now, we don't talk about this issue much in Britain, but in Europe, it's a big talking point. The collapsing birth rates, the difficulties children are facing with social media addiction, and also high housing prices, which is something we are familiar with in the UK, but is actually affecting families across Europe and across the world, actually, and is stopping young people from buying houses and therefore starting families. So this is a big talking point here in Europe, and we're speaking to people who've got some great ideas in their own countries about how to tackle the problem. But I have got another Brit with me here, Max Rangeley, who is from the Cobden Centre, which is an economic think tank in the UK. And we were talking about housing prices, Max, and the difference that's made to family. But it's not just a British problem, is it?
That's right. House prices are really a critical factor in low fertility rates. But an underlying cause of this that's not often discussed is actually the policies of central banks in recent years. And so what we've seen actually effectively over the last generation or so is central banks responding to each recession by creating a series of larger and larger debt bubbles, by setting interest rates lower and lower. And that's contributed to these very high house prices that we see really across the developed world now. So young people can't afford to buy houses.
So they set the interest rates really low, which means that people borrow more and more money, so house prices go up and up, effectively.
That's exactly right. So if we think about America, for instance, when the bubbles of the late 1980s burst, Alan Greenspan at the Federal Reserve responded by setting interest rates at 3%, the lowest for decades. That then created an even larger bubble, which was the dot-com bubble. Then when that burst in 2000, he responded with even lower interest rates of 1%, which then created an even larger bubble, which was the housing bubble. Then, of course, when that burst in 2008, the response was even lower interest rates, the lowest interest rates in history. In fact, years and years of 0% interest rates, and that served to create an even larger debt bubble in 2008. And one of the major consequences of that is really across the developed world, young people can no longer afford to buy housing. But what's really different with this compared to previous recessions in previous decades and even centuries was that you've got this combination of really stagnant living standards for most people, or even falling living standards, combined with asset prices going higher and higher, including housing, of course. And so the effects on fertility rates are pretty obvious.
So actually some of the policies that countries are introducing around giving families more benefits might help a little bit, but actually the best thing that we could possibly do is to solve this problem of overinflated housing. I'm sure there's many of our viewers would completely agree with that. Unless we can solve the housing problem, people are just not going to settle down and have children. Anyway, back to you in the studio, Dawn. It's been a fascinating conference.
Lovely, thank you.